It's the end of the day. It's time to close up shop. However, something tells you to stay back for a bit. For the next hour or two, you'll be staying after hours. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another fun edition of the Double After Hours podcast. I'm Aaron Dresser. I'm here with Charles Robison.
Hello.
And Shane Siegel.
Hey everybody. How's it going?
Well, it's going all right. We had the radio show a little earlier as of this recording. We had the radio show a little earlier, and it was a lot of fun. But now we're going to, kick back a little bit and talk about physical media and DVDs and all kinds of fun stuff. Blu-Rays.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. And our fond and fun memories of all of those. So, who wants to start for today?
I guess I'll start with kind of why we're talking about this. I remember, I don't think this came up initially within Aaron and I's initial topic brainstorming session or whatever it was, but I think I threw it out there randomly a couple of days before this recording, which is April 12th. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool? And Aaron was like, yes. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect people to latch onto this, but sure, let's do it.
Why not?
Yeah, the reason I kind of want to bring this up was mainly because of just how much streaming has taken a bit of a stronghold on entertainment lately. That's obviously not a new take. I mean, especially after COVID and just how much Netflix and all the other services have kind of dominated lately. Streaming has just kind of become the way of life for a lot of people, and which is fine. I mean, the convenience with streaming, I don't think is ever technically going to be beat. I don't ever think we're really going to go back to a non-streaming age, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because I think the convenience of everything is honestly just going to take, because again, it's the classic debate of convenience over safety. Convenience is going to win every time.
Yeah.
Maybe not every time, but most of the time. And it won definitely here. And at the end of the day, what happened is that a lot of physical media, not all of it, some of it, I know vinyl records are still doing great, which they had a big cultural resurgence, which is really cool.
CDs too. CDs are starting to make a huge comeback thanks to actually Gen Z, funny enough. So,
which is weird, right?
Yeah, it is strange.
It is kind of weird in a sense.
So maybe this debate will be a little retroactively stupid in a few years, but who knows?
Yeah, it could be.
But in our current climate of the year 2024, at least when it comes to movies and TV, which is what we'll primarily be focusing our discussion on physical media today, even though we'll probably talk about CDs eventually. Mm-hmm. But they kind of went, I don't want to say they went the way of the dodo, but it does certainly seem like that's the way companies want them to be going. They want you to put all your attention on streaming or digital versions of the product that you don't technically own.
Basically putting all your eggs in one basket for something like that.
Yep.
Right. Which kind of sucks. And I guess in terms of questions, because I wrote down a few, I guess we'll start from the beginning.
Okay. It's a good place to start.
Exactly.
But I guess in terms of DVDs, does anyone have any fun childhood stories of DVDs they want to talk about?
I have memories, but it's not of DVDs. It's something older than that.
VHS?
Yes, VHS.
Betamax?
So,
Laserdisc?
Wow.
Floppy disks, actually. But no, in all seriousness, though, so I'm older than Aaron and Charlie. I was born in 2003, and I had more experience with, the VHS tapes and all that. Charlie, Aaron, I see you guys laughing.
1 year difference. Look at Grandpa. Look at Grandpa over here.
Yes, I am Uncle Grandpa. Just, good morning. Back in my old house, I had a TV that was able to play VHS tapes, and we also had our own VCR system. And we have a lot of those thanks to home movies, with the old handheld camcorders and stuff like that. We use them for recollection and stuff. And I think later on in the mid 2010s, we decided to change them all to DVDs just so that it makes it simpler to look at stuff, but we still keep them around just in case something were to happen, the DVDs or vice versa, and we were always a big fan of all that stuff, just watching it, gathering together, watching home movies and stuff like that. And also when I was a kid, my parents always got the VeggieTales DVDs and the VHS tapes, so they always had those playing and stuff like that. It was still fun and all that. We still have the box TV that still plays VHS to this day, and it's still operational.
No.
And Aaron, you're just pointing at yours in the back.
The one in the back, here in the layer, which we'll eventually, when we get the set up,
Right.
That will be an integral part.
Exactly.
As of this recording, the set for the podcast has not been built. I don't know if it'll be built by episode 5, but maybe not. We don't know. But
we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But back to what I was talking about. So, like, obviously we grew up watching this stuff. Back in 2020, like when the COVID pandemic first happened, we just decided, hey, let's pull out the VHS tapes and start watching them. So that's what we did. We called up my grandparents who still had theirs in their house, and we're just like, hey, do you mind if we can borrow this just to play some like old home videos and stuff? And they're just like, yeah, sure, go right ahead. So we grabbed it from them, took it to our house, and we just pulled out the whole thing. And like, we obviously have the containers like to hold them in. It was weird holding those like at my age too. It just felt so unreal, you know. But like, it was able to watch like home videos and stuff. And it was really nice. It's really nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have home movies, of course. A lot of ours are on a format that will, for some of our older audience, might bring back some nostalgia. Video 8, the little mini cassettes they were used for the camcorders. We have a lot of them on those.
Really?
So there's probably a good, maybe 12 or 13 tapes just full of stuff. And I actually found a working one at a garage sale, because I think the one that we have kind of died on its own. It's what they do. They just, after a while, they just kind of they are like turn into grandpa mode, and then that's it. They're done.
Exactly.
Which is one of the downsides of old media like that, is trying to keep them in working shape. Sure, there's a lot of businesses that are able to do it. In fact, there's a great one out in Royal Oak that I've heard about. It's either Royal Oak or Madison Heights. I don't remember which one, but they work on like old tech like that. So if you have like a VCR or something that needs to be repaired, or if you have,
they can just do it easy for
Yep. They have a whole service team that knows how, the ins and outs of these machines and can repair stuff for you. But there's also the thing of converting it to DVD, or converting it to, nowadays, the most convenient thing is an MP4. But
right.
Yeah, it's still cool to have all the old media and see how it works, and that's just me.
I think we still have like some of our home videos on like MP4s and like other like photos as well. Yeah. Because I think I know I'm intruding again, but I'm gonna make this quick. But we have old family photos and stuff like that, but we also move them to the digital, like on a USB port or like MP4, just in case if something were to happen to the photos. We could still just print them off again. Simple as that.
Yeah. So I think digital preservation, and I think this is going to lead into a lot more, conversations as this particular episode goes on, but digital preservation, foreshadowing here, is very important.
Exactly. It's
yeah.
The digital age is like can be a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing in like holding like memories and stuff. Bad thing if like something were to corrupt your system and you lose everything. It's terrible.
Yeah. On the terms of like DVD memories, I had Wreck-It Ralph on DVD and Blu-ray, both. But my grandma had a TV. It's now in my possession. But it was like a TV and like DVD combo. I watched Wreck-It Ralph on that TV so much.
Oh my God, no! I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, I watched it on that TV so much that it broke the DVD player. It just stopped working one day.
That's terrible.
And my grandma primarily used that TV for TV. She never really used the DVD part. So I'm pretty sure it was me just playing that Wreck-It Ralph DVD over and over and over again that just eventually caused it to stop working.
Yeah, no wonder the phrase "I'm gonna wreck it" comes into play a lot.
Yeah, the irony is stunning. I know, but it's one of my favorite memories with DVDs.
God, I don't think I've ever broken something doing that in that regard.
Yeah.
Have I ever burned something into a screen? That's the other famous trope.
That happened to one of my friends before, and I don't remember the story, but Charlie, if you want to see something, go right ahead.
I don't know, because like, for me, most of my memories from DVDs, like obviously every suburban kid had like your because obviously it's inconvenient when like you're on a long car trip or whatever, and you got to store your DVDs for like the video player thing and the minivan brigade up above.
Yep.
And like you have like the whole binder sleeve
of
like,
course.
Those things, I respect that.
Gotta have the DVD binder that may or may not scratch many of your discs.
Right.
Oh, no, they definitely scratched the DVDs, 100%.
Oh, they totally did. It was awful. Yeah. I hope you're ready to only watch 1/3 of Cars, because that's all you're getting.
I hope you're ready to just keep watching a blank screen for like an hour.
You only get the ending of Bolt.
Yes, with Bolt.
The Bolt episode is done.
We're not talking about Bolt anymore, except we totally will and make several references to it.
Yeah, Bolt is gonna, guys, nothing's changed.
No, nothing's changed.
On the topic of scratches, you've mentioned this before, Aaron, in passing, but my favorite bit about DVDs is like you get the movie, right? Yeah. The movie is on disc 1. Like for me, this was I'll stick with Cars as my example because this is my experience with it. Cars is on disc 1, and then you get disc 2, which is all the fun little special features that, like, obviously the kid doesn't care about because they don't want to know the hard work that went to making the movie. They just want to Owen Wilson
don't care. Little Jimmy doesn't care about the time that the artists put in. They just want the main DVD.
Yep.
And now as like an adult, I'm sitting there just kind of like, man, I really just only want to watch disc 2. Like, I want to know how the heck all this happened.
Yeah. Disc 2 is always the most pristine disc in your collection, and then disc 1 is like it's seen wars.
Oh yeah, dude,
it's been through hell and back.
My favorite version of that is The Incredibles, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's amazing, it's great. Obviously people have seen it, go watch it again. But Incredibles disc 1, scratched.
It's over.
Like Wolverine just destroyed that sucker.
Yeah.
Disc 2, the DIA would squeal if they could get their hands on it.
Still on the topic of like disc scratching and stuff. So this doesn't have to do with like video, like movies and stuff. It has to do with video games. Okay. So I mentioned to you guys before that I have my PlayStation 2. I think I've mentioned that before, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have.
So there was one game I always played on it. It was the same game. It was SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. I played that so much, and and I was still young, and my brother taught me like a bunch of these like game-breaking secrets and stuff like that. And like there was one of them you could activate like an infinite cruise boost or whatever, and it was pretty cool. But one day I wanted to play it, and turns out like the DVD it had scratches on it. It had like bite marks in it because one of my old dogs bit the case, which destroyed the DVD too.
Wow.
We were upset. We're just like, no, we can't play this anymore. No.
I can't see SpongeBob. Where'd he go?
I have one of the funniest PS2 stories I think of all time, and this ties in with physical media. So my dad owned a PS2. It was the first game console I ever played, and he played it, of course, more than me, and he loved Madden. My dad was a Madden freak back in the day.
I'm so sorry for him.
Yeah. He played Madden like nobody's business. He would, create the fantasy teams. There was like a, fantasy mode on the game. Spent hours doing it, right? So I had a few games on the PS2. Like you said,
nice.
I had the SpongeBob games. I think I had Finding Nemo on there. Which
another game, Pitfall. I still play that to this day. That one is still fun. Anyways, fun. Aaron, continue.
So it got to the point. To the point where the drive on that PS2 was so worn out that when you put the disc in, like if it was sitting on its side like normal, it wouldn't read the disc. So I learned the trick was to angle the PS2 on its side and like just kind of and then it would just magically start working.
You abuse that thing.
So
it's been through hell and back.
Yeah, it has. So that brings me to the other thing with I guess if we want to move along to another point? Okay. With optical media, I've heard a lot of people say optical media bad, And I can understand exactly where they're coming from, especially with problems with like scratches and the drive not working and you having to tilt the thing on its side to get it to work.
Yeah, with the Wii motion control.
Right, you have to, yeah, you gotta,
so you could go,
you gotta play the teeter game. But then it comes to the point of physical media and digital media, and like buying physical things and getting stuff through a digital provider. Would you still, in this digital world where everything is, oh, I can just go on Amazon and I could buy the entire first season of regular show, just for a crude example here. You buy the first
good example.
Yeah, you could buy the first season of regular show, you have it in there, or you go to a streaming service, you pay, you subscribe to it. In that world, are you still okay with having physical media around? And what are your thoughts on having physical media around?
I guess my thoughts on it is that, for one thing, from a preservationist standpoint, which is usually where my heart goes with this, I always want some of this stuff to be safe physically. Because for one thing, if it is just digitally and you can't technically hold it and own it, people are going to take advantage of that. We've seen that dozens and dozens of times in the past few years. That's why the whole writer's strike and actor's strike happened, partially. Because, again, we're recording this in April 12th, 2024. Obviously, the strikes have been long over. Yeah. So I won't go too much into it. But again, one of the big reasons why the writers went on strike is because these projects are kind of like their body of work, obviously. And if you want to know what the heck they did, you look back to what happened in their shows or whatever. Like, that was my role on here. Here's the show. You can look at it, look at my work, look how great I am.
Right.
But one of the big things that this new streaming kind of phenomenon has happened is that not all the series that get streamed get physical releases. If you're a big hit like Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, something like that, yeah, you go to physical release kind of like as a novelty collectible thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if you're like a smaller show or movie, you're probably only going to be able to live on digitally unless you bootleg it, which obviously isn't technically legal.
Or pirating it.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the big things that happened is that what streamers did to cut costs is that they took down a lot of some of their series, which obviously isn't great because, hey, you're advertising, I can watch this and now I can't. But the big problem is that a lot of those series that they took down were the streaming exclusives ones. So technically, they became lost media overnight.
Yeah.
Which sucks, which is why I'm never fully going to be okay with purely digital media. I say as we're on a podcast, it's only through digital right now. But it's a gross implication, and it really sucks that I feel like a lot of people, I'm not trying to say that people are dumb, but it kind of sucks that I feel like a lot of people don't see this yet. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you give someone an inch, they're going to take a foot. Like, and one of the other big things that's happening is that, because again, they've been wanting to push streaming digital media down our throats largely this whole time. And what that happens is that a lot of stuff doesn't really get physical releases anymore. I mean, heck, Best Buy, the one at least by me, got rid of their DVD section.
Yeah. Yep. They're starting to roll that out nationally.
Yeah, that's
right.
Really?
Yes.
It's awful. I know Target was discussing it at one point. I don't remember if Walmart was, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to change the way you consume it. They want you to do it all digitally because that's the way they figure they're going to make most of the money. And if they want to take it away from you from whatever reason, they can. Heck, I believe it was, what was it? I don't remember what country it was, but I remember Disney shut down one of their DVD plants. I want to say it was Ireland or New Zealand, but I don't think I'm right. But it was one of those two where they shut down the plant completely and that like area of the world can't get DVDs from new releases anymore.
Wow.
And it's awful.
That's terrible.
Yeah, we get you, but if I'm gonna add like my own 5 cents to this, like it is weird to see like how like these companies are just like starting to, and like companies are starting to like roll away, like get rid of the DVDs on like end the shelves, because there's still a lot of people to this day that still have DVDs. I mean, both of my cousins still use DVDs and like the Blu-ray DVDs, and like they get all the stuff and whatnot. They have these really cool DVDs. They still buy the DVDs of like movies that they want to watch. So, and just like that's one way of like how stores could get their money, like from like people buying the DVDs. Like, yeah, they could just like have the DVD as a collector's item, or they could just have it as like they could just watch it. Like whatever it is, they still gotta have it in stores,
Right.
Well, like from a store owner's perspective, obviously a store owner's perspective is very different from like a collector. A collector
sure.
believes that I collect everything, give it to me now. But like that, I'm not.
That's like you, Charlie.
I know, right? And again, my view on some of this is very biased because I collect action figures. I'm a very physical kind of guy. Well, I'm not built in that regard,
Right?
But
no.
you know, physical things are, you know, I collect them. That made me sound like a poacher. My word is just so off today. But my point is that from a store owner's perspective, if you were to like if you're looking at the areas of your store that's making the least amount of money, obviously like some of this is up for interpretation, but you see DVDs aren't raking in the cash, you're going to get rid of that. Yeah. And unfortunately, because of just the way we've been molded now, especially through COVID, where basically you could only see new releases through streaming just because of how the lockdowns were, you know, handled. Obviously, all the stores were closed besides like, you know, your grocery stores. So that was a whole thing. But it just sucks. Like, obviously, like I know like your cousin Shane still kind of like try to buy DVDs, and my brother still does. Like he still has a massive collection of DVDs in his closet. But, you know, I'm not trying to say that we have a bunch of closet DVD collectors. What I am saying is that those people are few and far between.
Right.
And
okay, that's fair.
What makes this hard is that I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to like see the value in this. Because for one thing, DVDs aren't perfect. I'm not going to sit here and kind of proclaim that this piece of physical media will never die ever. Because that's not necessarily true. I mean, heck, so many Warner Bros. DVDs, if they were made at a certain plant in between certain years, they're already rotted. They're gone. And Warner has no intentions of bringing those back. Yeah. Like, they are not a perfect media. Neither are Blu-rays, which is why physical media is so important, because you kind of just have to keep remaking it, making sure you kind of... It's a constant process. It's a constant struggle. It's a commitment that's not easily maintained, but one that's very easily broken, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, that does. That makes sense, and I hear you.
So, if I can, I just want to throw my 2 cents in here. I'm gonna use video games as an example, because there's actually a story that I heard just today. But before I get into that, there was a problem with licensing for the game Octopath Traveler on the Nintendo Switch, and what ended up happening is I guess there was some issue with Square Enix and Nintendo, and due to this, Nintendo just decided to pull the game from the store, from the eShop. So nobody, right? It's still, as of this recording, is still unavailable for any kind of purchase or download anything. You cannot access this game on there due to a licensing problem. You think about taking it back to the Nintendo Entertainment System, you had Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Now, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is a huge game, right? People still really love this game.
It was up there with Mario and Zelda and the NES. You could argue it was like the third pillar.
Yeah.
So true.
So that game was huge because it was a great game, but it was also because it had Mike Tyson in it. Well, Mike Tyson went to jail. And after Mike Tyson went to jail,
you guys hear?
Nintendo was like, well, I don't think we want to have Mike Tyson in the game anymore. So let's go ahead and swap him out for our new original character, Mr. Dream. Now, here's the key difference. Because of this licensing problem, Nintendo didn't go to little Johnny's house and say, hey, bud, can I have your copy of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, please? That didn't happen. There are still plenty of copies of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out available for you to go on there and buy, and were still available back in the day. So I mentioned Octopath Traveler a little earlier.
Right.
But if you had purchased that game already, then you could still re-download it as much as you want. They just pulled it off of the store so nobody else could buy it. Right. The most egregious thing, I heard about this today. I kid you not. So Ubisoft has their own, like...
It's always Ubisoft.
Oh, it's always Ubisoft.
It's always that. Trust me.
They have their own app, right, where you can buy Ubisoft games. It's awful, right, for PC.
Yeah.
Terrible.
If you own... I forget what... It's The Crew. If you own the game The Crew, if you bought it on there, Ubisoft is just going to go, gone.
Wah, wah.
Even though you bought it, they're going to take it away from you and you can't play it anymore.
Right, I did see that.
And they said, one of the Ubisoft execs, and this is why I don't play Ubisoft games anymore. They said straight up, get used to not owning your games.
Yeah.
I read that, and my jaw just fell open. Are you seriously going to tell your consumers that, oh, if you pay $70 for, I don't know, The Crew 2 or whatever, and they're just going to say, oh, well, we don't feel like supporting this game anymore. Yeah, gone.
You just wasted your money on nothing. That's basically what they're saying. They're just like, oh, you spent this money just to think you can play this game. Haha, no, it's my money. You don't get to play. Scammer gets scammed.
If you pay $70 for, let's say if you bought a game physically, there is nobody that's going to come to your house and take that game away from you. That's not going to happen. But if you buy something on a digital platform, you're not buying the game. You're buying a license to play that game.
Right.
So, and according to this license, the terms and everything, if they decide that, oh, we're just going to take that game from you, there's nothing you can do. Sure, they may give you a refund. Sometimes I don't think Ubisoft would, just to really rub it in. I don't know, that's not fact or anything, but that's why I'm such a stickler for physical media and buying physical games, and even getting like games at like a resale, right? Because you think if you buy a game on a platform, I know we're talking about games, but this goes for movies and TV shows too. If you buy something on a platform and you say, like, I don't know, 50 years later, you dust off the console from your attic, and you're like, wow, I want to play this game one more time, right? Just for old time's sake. And those servers are long gone, and you need to re-download the game because you don't have it on there. What are you going to do? Sucks to be you, I guess.
Right.
If you buy a game physically, that game, at least on the PlayStation side, and I know this is going to start a console debate, but I know at least for the PlayStation side, if you have a disc, that disc is required to have the full game on that disc, so when you put it in your console and it installs, you can play the game from start to finish. Sure, it might be a little buggy down the road, but it's at least there, and you should be able to play it from start to finish. And it's still fun.
Well, if it's a good game.
If it's a good game, right.
Exactly.
But I've also heard things about Microsoft only putting about 15 gigs of an actual game on the disc and just saying, whatever.
Womp womp.
Which, that's going to require a lot of long-term support for your servers. So,
right.
Hope you have the storage capacity. Insert the Seinfeld theme, But, I mean, this can go not just for Microsoft. This goes for every platform out there. This goes for Nintendo, everything. Sony, all of them. The Ouya. I don't know.
The Ouya?
That's a reference and a half right there, but...
Dude, Sega's coming back.
Yeah.
They're going to make a whole new console just to make you mad.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Can't wait for the... I don't know.
It's going to be called the Sega Neptune.
The Sega Neptune, there you go. Oh, man. But
boy.
With that physical media, and then the other thing that also gets to me, and this is also the problem with physical media, because we've been praising physical media a lot. There's two sides to this. One of the arguments against physical media is how expensive it can be sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Because, and I say this as someone who is a big fan of retro games. I am, as a member of the retro gaming community, I can say that, oh God, help my wallet.
No, that's just basically all games in general, because all games...
Not all of them.
Most games. Just hear me out, because no matter digitally or physically, it's still gonna be expensive, just because, like... You can get, like, if it's on digital, you can get, like, these, like, add-ons, deluxe editions, DLCs, like, stuff like that. But, like, in physical media, you can get, like, the DVD itself and then, like, card codes for DLCs or exclusive stuff. So, I'm just going to go off about that.
That hurts physical media, though. Especially if you put the code, like, in the disc or, like, in the case, and then, you get the game fresh in the package from GameStop or whatever, and you put the code in, you redeem all the DLC stuff, and then say, 5 years down the line, you go and resell that game. Well, little Johnny's going to get your resold copy. See, oh, look, a code. He's going to try to put the code in. Oh, it's expired. And that's one of the things that game companies have put in. This is a purposeful thing to try to kind of erase physical media. Is like, oh, well, you can't get your DLC code if you bought this from Uncle Al's Crazy Games.
Uncle Al's Toy Barn.
Toy Barn.
Nothing against Uncle Al's Crazy Games, but
What have you been?
Yeah, it's a great store. It's fantastic.
He worked there.
Yeah, I worked there. No, I'm kidding.
Featuring Uncle Ruckus.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So it's one of the things that hurts it, and piracy too. That's a huge conversation.
I've seen like so many videos, like people on YouTube, like people will make like custom videos of like piracy screens and stuff like that. But like some of them are actually like pretty legitimate, and like some of them you could just obviously know that they're fake, of course. But like the way that like how like piracy works and stuff, it's something else.
When it comes to piracy, this is my stance on piracy. Okay, if I will buy things legitimately. I do. I have a lot of physical media. I do buy stuff digitally. I know, hypocrite, but I buy things both ways. It depends on if it's on sale. If the game I want or the show or movie is like $1, then okay, that's fine, whatever. But my stance on piracy is if the company is not that originally makes it, or whoever has the license is not willing to make this particular film, TV show, game, piece of music, even I'll even go as far as saying music too, if they're not willing to give me a legitimate option to play, listen, or watch that particular piece of media, I'm going to pirate it, and I'm not going to feel bad about it, because you all these companies are like, oh, don't pirate our stuff, and then proceed to not give me a way to watch it, so I'm gonna pirate it.
Yeah.
And who's it hurting? Absolutely no one. They're not getting any money if I got it legitimately, because they're not offering a way to get it legitimately. So I might as well just, yar har skippity dee and sail the high seas to go get myself a copy of, I don't know, Galaga.
I was going to make a Genghis Khan joke, and I was like, I don't remember what movie he's in.
Oh, yeah.
He's in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Including Europe.
Like most of the Bloodline?
Anyway.
The Bloodline.
Yeah. That's just one of the things that it hurts, when you have a great piece of media and then that people can't buy it legitimately, and you can't support the creators, especially for you, Charlie. I know that probably,
of course.
You've talked about this a lot where,
I have preached that hundreds of times.
Maybe even thousands.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I remember during the strikes, that was one of the big things where, like, first of all, context on my personal situation on some of this nonsense. Obviously, I 100% agree with Aaron. We have basically the same philosophy. But in terms of where some of the stuff I stand on is, because I talked about the strikes and everything. Yeah. But I go to college for writing and film. And they are proud pirates over there. They are sailing the 7 seas any day of the darn week. They do not care. We are actively joking with our TAs about what sites we use. It's that bad.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's funny. But I remember one of the big things is that I don't remember what movie it was. I was talking about this with Bryce once, maybe. But, like, it might have been when the Marvels came out or something like that. Or, like, some random superhero or some random thing where it's like, oh, it got mid-reviews. Pirate it. Don't waste your money. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, did you not understand what we
were on strike for?
Yeah.
You...
I mean... Morbius was a huge one that I remember was like, everybody was like, don't pay for this, pirate it.
Exactly. That's
right.
Yeah, and some of my friends in one of my group chats, we always joke about it, like, to this day, and like about Morbius too, like, and for fun, we always say like, oh, Morbius is like the best movie in the world. Why pirate it? Stuff like that. It's like,
Shane. You see, Shane. Here's what we did. Here's what Aaron and I did in our group of friends. When we went to Disney as a class,
yep.
Do you want to know what we did the first night?
You pirated Morbius.
We pirated Morbius. Let's go.
Yep.
Now listen here. I've seen the Morb Man. I've seen Morby. I've seen it legally.
Yeah.
when I watched Madam Web, I told people not to pirate it. Just don't go see it.
Just don't watch it entirely.
Right. And, like, I never saw, like, Madam Web. I
Not
was
yet.
just like, no. I basically have no plans on it. It just...
Oh, I had plans.
It looks... Yeah, Charlie, you saw it, like, opening night, and you're just like...
my Valentine's night was spent in a theater watching Madam Web.
Yeah, the theater is Charlie's Valentine. We'll just put it at that.
It was ugly.
Oh man, Morbius is just wow.
Right.
It's a great movie, I know. What can I say?
Before we jump back on DVDs and physical media, before we get off the Morb train, which as much as I would love to talk about Morbius for a whole episode, as funny as it would be,
I will get my
episode.
I want to get my friend Jaden on the episode. He always like talks about Morbius a lot too.
There you go. But anyway, we were, as when Aaron and I in our class, another class, we went to Washington D.C. and we went to a mall for whatever reason, and they had a Morbius shirt in there. And this was before the movie came out, and I was like, "Oh, I like this guy from the comics. He's the vampire Spider-Man fights. I'm going to get that shirt." And then the movie came out, and it was awful. So I was sitting there with
why
the
did
shirt.
I buy this?
I'm just like, why am I plugging the bad Jared Leto vampire movie? Oh no!
That's awesome.
I still have the shirt. I wear it proudly.
Nice.
Good. I respect it. So, I still have... I'm not sure if I have it, like, on me or not, but, like,
What?
I have the Morbius Lego minifigure. I think it might be with my Ninjago City Markets, so... But I had to bring that back home the other day, so...
Okay.
Anyways, moving on.
Moving on.
Morbius got a physical release, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Ew.
Unfortunately.
Well, no, fortunately, we can't contradict ourselves.
Oh, that's
here.
true. Sorry. Fortunately.
You're not sorry.
No, I'm not sorry at all.
He's not sorry at all. He wants all the poor people who worked on Morbius to starve.
Oh yeah.
He wants them to suffer.
Oh yeah.
Aaron Gresser, pirater at law.
Yes. Very much so.
Yeah. Just like Charlie, offender at law.
For the FBI agent listening who is just fuming over the fact that I'm not paying for things, he can calm himself right down. So I want to change subjects, not a lot, still pertaining to physical media, but I want to change the side to music.
Sure.
So
Okay.
in this world of... How do you think... I mean, obviously it has a lot, but I just want to hear, like, thoughts. With streaming services becoming the big thing with music, and, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Tidal, if you're one of the people that uses Tidal.
That's a thing?
That is a thing. It is Tidal. It is apparently the most high-quality music streaming service ever. Okay. So if you're an audiophile, that's, like, your go-to. If you are not a fan of music quality at all, you go to YouTube Music, but hey. So what are your thoughts on how this has affected physical media with music pertaining to the relevant ones? Like even saying like iTunes. I'll include iTunes in this as well.
Right, and I remember like back in the past how like iTunes was like the biggest thing, and like that's like one of the biggest like music thing, like play like music apps you can like get music on, and I grew up with that a lot. And then I think in like 2016 my family switched over to Spotify, and then we've stuck with that since. But I mean, with physical releases of like with like vinyls and stuff, like they still like have it on shelves, yes, but like I don't know how to word this. Maybe
do you consider vinyl a novelty and cassettes a novelty?
Yes.
I have a weird answer to this.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I consider cassettes a novelty.
yeah.
Okay.
Me
yeah.
personally, I think they're the most inconvenient way to listen to something, and they're so easily broken. I think
Okay,
we've
yeah,
passed it
100%
in terms of audio quality and like usability.
Oh, of course.
If that makes sense. Vinyls, it's on the edge for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm obviously a little biased on this. Music is not my number one passion. It's maybe like 6 or 7. Arson's number 4. But
Of course it is, Charlie. It's your favorite activity.
Yeah, it's a fan favorite.
And when I was talking about the convenience versus like principle debate over where, and with music, convenience wins for me. listen, as gross as it is, I do use Apple Music.
Oh,
It's
so
when
do I.
I listen to music when on my walks to class. I'm a simple man. I in this regard, I don't have a ton of physical music stuff. Not because like, oh, I hate it. It's shock. It's just listen. There's only so much money a broke college student can spend.
Oh, of course.
And that just quite frankly isn't going to vinyls. But I think with vinyls, there's a certain feel to them. You know, like CDs. They're not very classy. They're, what's the word I'm looking for? They're simple, but there's no class with the CD. There's no cultural like I'm gonna put on the CD for you, baby. That's just like, what are you stuck in Friends?
Yeah.
Right.
But with a vinyl, like there's a certain kind of cultural like elegance, ambiance,
Norm.
maybe.
Yeah.
Not norm, but like in terms of like status. Being a vinyl collector is kind of cool again, I guess. Like, listen, babe, it's just you, me, and the vinyl. Where are you going?
I've seen, like, vinyl is kind of becoming a hipster thing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you'd be hipster to listen to vinyl. I do,
I take that with pride.
So you're part of the problem.
I'd say so. I don't consider myself a hipster, but,
Aaron Gresser, hipster at law.
Hipster at law. There you go. But, it's the cassettes. I completely understand what you're saying, especially the ones that are mastered today are awful. I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
The Awesome Mix.
Which is Awesome Mix Volume 2. I mean, that's cool to own on a cassette because it's like, wow, it's
the movie.
It's the movie, right.
Right.
But if you actually listen to that tape, sure, it's got all the music on there. It's legit, but it sounds awful. And that's not due to the cassette. Analog tape gets a lot of backlash. It sounds good when it's mastered correctly. When it's done right, it's great. when they just threw it into the old crusty Sony boombox and said, put that song on there, and then shipped it out professionally, it's like, well, there you go. You're getting what you're getting.
Yeah, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, you do throw a fit,
You
though.
throw a fit and demand for better. Have we learned nothing from the almost 50 minutes of conversation?
Right.
Oh, no, Charlie, you guys have known me for the longest time. I don't learn.
Yeah. It's, with CDs and, like, or with streaming media, with streaming music and stuff, it's convenience. If you,
Totally.
You could pay $10 and get access to millions of songs at your fingertips.
That's what I did.
Right. It's huge. That is huge, right? But again, it's the same problem with all of the movie streaming and TV streaming and even video game platforms. If a licensing problem happens, or this happens a lot on Apple Music. If you're an Apple Music listener,
It does.
if you are a soundtrack person on Apple Music,
God.
I'm so sorry.
God. I fume over this. Aaron,
I think we should let Charlie explain his thing.
you have no idea the level of anger I go through each day.
Yeah.
Not each week or each month, each day.
Yeah.
Each hour.
Because listen, I hate admitting this, but like I do put on music sometimes during class to lock in, to focus, to get in the zone.
Yeah.
And I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks, obviously. It's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Like I went through all the Star Wars soundtracks during my lectures. I'm starting to go through Marvels again. I went through some of Steven Spielberg stuff. I keep going through it. And one day, after I talked about the holdovers on the show or on the radio show, when it was, because the holdover soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It has a lot of like really like low key kind of I don't know, folk song seems kind of wrong, but like very like low key rustic kind of music,
Yeah.
And I thought, what, this soundtrack is great. I want to listen to it. I look on Apple Music, it's all black.
Yeah, it's all grayed out.
It's all grayed out.
Exactly.
It's like
It's gone.
and it's the worst for me when I'm like setting up soundtrack of movies that I like. Like I remember one of the big ones is that I made like a big Disney playlist of all the Disney songs that immediately went through my head. I need to like add billions more.
Right.
But the point is like I was going through the Finding Nemo soundtrack, a stuff that I liked, a soundtrack that I listened to all the time. And I'm sitting there going, where's the Robbie Williams Behind the Sea song? It's black.
Yeah, it's gone.
So I had to luckily I could still grab a version of the song because it was a song that was made obviously not for the movie.
Yeah.
But you're not that lucky sometimes.
When it's on the pre-compiled album, that's usually when it's a problem. And then you have to go on the scavenger hunt to try and find it. I'll give you a great example, actually, that happened to me recently. On my side, there's a soundtrack from the Ken Burns film about the Vietnam War. And the whole entire soundtrack is all songs from the 60s, from around the time of the Vietnam War. Great soundtrack. I have never found a 60s soundtrack better than this movie. It is phenomenal. Highly recommend you check it out. If you're on a platform that lets you listen to all the songs, because 90% of them are grayed out and you have to make your own playlist or find some dude who made a playlist because the official one is all grayed out. And that brings me to I'm so confused about why those soundtracks, the pre-made ones, are all grayed out when you already have the songs that are on there. Is this an issue with I'm sure it's a background licensing problem. But,
most likely.
But, if I had bought the Vietnam War soundtrack, the Ken Burns one, on CD, I wouldn't be having this issue.
Right.
I can throw that into the old crusty Sony boombox, and it's perfectly fine. I don't know why I keep mentioning the crusty boombox.
Because you have a certain person you work with where that's
a certain affinity with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So...
something weird.
It's, when you get those physical soundtracks and you get the physical media, you don't have the same issues. It's just, it works. But then, of course,
not always.
Not always. That's when the physical media, if it turns into a Warner DVD and just decides to demolish itself, or if you have Laserdisc. If you're a Laserdisc collector, I'm sorry. Laser rot is one of the biggest problems with Laserdisc. Where it'll just the layers of the disc, the glue that they used was the most Elmer's glitter glue awfulness, and it immediately starts separating, and it leads to laser rot, so you can't watch them anymore. And it has led to a lot of lost media. That's where lost media comes in too. That's why preservation is so huge. And that's why we're seeing it a lot with the video game community, with of course movies and TV. It's been a thing since the 50s, actually, when when those vaults went up in flames and burned all those films from the 20s and 30s. A lot of them just are lost, and they're still lost today. And so where does the line drawn? This is kind of moving on to a new thing. Where is the line drawn between preservation and piracy?
I think you said it earlier. I think you said earlier, Aaron, if the company is giving you no legal way of viewing the film in the way that I guess it's intended, or you want to be intending, obviously without re-editing the whole thing or whatever,
yeah, of course,
then I think it's fair game. The big example for me is the original cut of Star Wars: A New Hope. Obviously, just in the 70s, and 77 was released, just called Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now.
I thought it was just called The New Hope.
No, it was called Star Wars when it originally came out. New Hope was given retroactively after the prequels. But anyway.
Okay, got it.
The point is that the original cut of that movie is obviously the most iconic one. It's the one that George Lucas didn't ruin yet. But,
which they made the whole South Park episode about George Lucas and Steven Spielberg going in and tampering with the movies.
Because they keep doing it. But
yeah,
anyway.
It's true. It's just true.
And this is my big thing, because in my opinion, the best way to watch the movie is the original theatrical cut. The one you were able to see in theaters.
Yeah.
That's obviously not the craziest opinion in the world, but it's the correct one.
Yeah.
But there's no legal way right now, as far as I remember, through streaming, to be able to watch that movie. If you want to watch A New Hope, you need to watch one of George Lucas's CGI'd messes where he keeps deciding if Greedo shot first, and you just need to stop. You're rich. No one cares. Stop.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just a matter of a preference. If somebody were to watch.
It's not. Because what George Lucas did is that he actively changed the pacing of his movie with these new cuts and takes. He added in scenes that don't need to be there, and he overall ruined some of the parts of the movie that didn't need to be there. This isn't me being elitist. This is you fundamentally changing the experience of what you're watching. And as of right now, unless you want to get an old VHS or an old DVD, which you can still buy on eBay, obviously,
yeah,
but there's no legal way technically right now of streaming the original cut of A New Hope. So what do you have to do if you want to watch the good version of the movie that Lucas gonna get his grimy little mitts on?
Pirate it!
You have to pirate it. And me personally, I've given a lot of money to that man in my life. I do not feel bad about him losing on a couple of bucks for me wanting to watch another version of his movie.
Despite what all the scary FBI warnings, say to you.
But do we pay attention to them? No.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. I know this is kind of, I hope this doesn't turn into the piracy podcast, but one thing,
it's a big topic.
This podcast is gonna get pirated either way. I'm calling it.
One thing I can tell you is with piracy is a lot of internet providers have started to crack down and will send emails to you. So if you, if you pirate enough, they will start sending you emails and then start sending you fines, and then will bottleneck your internet speeds. It's a whole thing. AT&T seems to be the worst with this. They are just ruthless. Comcast usually only does it if you pirate Comcast stuff. Which is really funny. This is the funniest thing, is it's only if you pirate Comcast stuff. So if you just
Jurassic Park die.
Yeah. But this is not going to turn into a tutorial on what's the best internet provider if you want to sail the seven seas.
Well, and also there are people who use VPNs too in order to pirate stuff.
Oh, of course. And VPNs, I know they of course can be used for piracy, but they can also be used to view content on streaming services that is not available in your country. So say if you live in Australia and you VPN into Japan, Netflix Japan surprisingly has a lot of stuff on there that not everywhere has.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's what a lot of people do, especially with new releases of shows and stuff. A prime example of this is back in 2022 to now, over in I think in France, and this is going off in something of a show that I watch from time to time, which is Ninjago, which is a Lego show about ninja fighting villains, and they have elemental powers and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. But
Can you tell he likes Lego? He's been talking about it the whole podcast.
I know, right?
And I've been currently working on one.
Yes, he has.
Exactly.
Yes, he has.
Yes. I've seen it where people will use VPNs and change the location to France because the countries in Europe always have an earlier release schedule, and they're able to watch this content. However, they don't have the English translation. It's always in French, but they always have the English subtitles. So it's basically you just have to interpret what they're saying, and that's one way of viewing media. And that's also kind of with what a lot of people do too in order to watch it.
No.
Finally, a reason to support France.
Well, a few and far between, but yes.
Exactly.
I say as I'm part French.
Yeah, there you go. This is another topic. This actually pertains to the physical and the physical debate. There's been rumors that Microsoft's next Xbox console is going to be completely disc-free.
I don't like that because I had a discless console, and it was the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, which is still in good conditions to this day. It's somewhere up in my attic. I gotta look for it, but I tried it for a bit, and it just felt weird. I don't have the DVD port. I still played on it, yes, but after a while, it just kind of got repetitive. So I'm just you know what? As soon as I graduate and get enough money, I'm going to buy a Xbox Series X because I still want to play some DVD games, and I also want to watch some movies that I have on DVD. So that's what I did. As soon as my graduation party was done and I got my money, I used some of it to buy a new Xbox, and I use it to watch all my movies and stuff to this day. So I think that console, they should still keep it where you can still have a DVD port on the console. Of course everybody has their own opinion, to each his own, but that's just what I prefer, Yeah.
A lot of companies are of course right now they've released two versions of the system, one with a disk drive and one without one. And the PlayStation 5 Slim actually has a detachable disc drive. So if you bought the version without the disc drive, you can put a disc drive in.
I was actually gonna go off about that because I still think that's still a good idea. Like, what do you guys think?
I think it's fantastic. If let's say grandma bought you the PS5 Slim and it was the digital edition and you were like, oh, well, I want to play all my disc games, or if you bought the digital one and down the road you want to play disc games, you don't have to go out and shell out for a whole new console. You just buy the disc drive, pop it in there, done.
All the day. Simple as that.
If you make a console with absolutely no way of putting discs in it, I mean, that's, of course, that's like the main focus of the company is trying to move away from physical media, which is a bad idea. Do
you like hot soup in your lap?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah. You're getting rid of choice, and that especially that which kind of perplexes me, especially in a society right now that's moving away from, that's, or at least, not all of us are, but most people are trying to move away from physical media. And you're getting rid of choice, but there's also, we're in the generation of choice. That's why cable TV is dying out. Our generation is, moving more towards, we want to watch something or play something when we want to play it. We're not going to wait. We're not going to revolve our lives around a TV schedule. That's not going to happen.
Or a radio schedule. Hey, that's why the podcast exists. But exactly. It's bizarre to me that you are going to get rid of that in a generation that you're going to get rid of choice in a generation that's very much about choice. I'm sure it's to cut costs. It is. I mean, I've seen, the prices difference between a digital and a disc version of a system.
It's night and day.
It's night and day. It's huge. But is that really all about the disc drive, though? Is the disc drive really that expensive? No. They're going to market that a lot lower because, we want people to move away, so they'll buy something off of the Xbox store or the PlayStation store. We want them to buy them from our services so we can have control of everything that they own. It's almost like going back, and I mentioned the Vietnam War, going back to the 60s when people were protesting Big Brother. I don't want to get all conspiracy theory here, but it's always like, we're trying to get away from Big Brother, right? The corporations. But now we're moving towards, a society that's that's buying all these, buying all of these, games and movies and stuff from these services that Big Brother, in this case, Sony or Microsoft or Amazon or whatever, could just take that away at any point.
Mark Zuckerberg.
No. So I don't want to say this is a call to action to just, go back towards physical media, but this is kind of a call to action to go back to physical media. Like, don't phase it out. I understand that a lot of things, especially with, digital media, is getting a lot bigger file size wise, and that's tough to fit on a disc. Right now, just, because I'm a PlayStation user, they were using the ultra high definition Blu-Rays as the format. And those things can hold up to 100 gigs, which that's a lot of data. But then you see games that are 300 gigs or more, and it's like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? You got to print 3 discs? 4 if it's extra over? Like, what are you going to do there? Right. The most amount of discs I've seen is 2. I've only seen 2, but I can tell you, I think it's Black Ops Cold War. Black Ops Cold War is 300 gigs right now. It's sitting at a 300 gig file size.
And I think at the core, not to intrude, but because we kind of have to wrap this up soon. I have to pivot, right, people? But
someone doesn't want to turn into that podcast. That's a whole different thing.
Right. But the core of the issue, it's a question of choice. Yeah. Right? Like you said, our generation is very focused on choice and expression is just generally so much part of the American experience, which is kind of what makes our country a little weird and different from some of the other countries in the world, which is how much we value choice. We've fought for it. obviously our founding fathers died for it. There's people who want to take choice away, whether it's choice of freedom of speech, how to vote, how to handle your bodies. It's a common, very hot topic issue that we're always kind of fighting against. It's ironic that for a country of freedom, we're always taking away choice. Again, we're not trying to get political here.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not taking sides here, but hey, that's just the reality of the situation. And that's why I think choosing to be able to say that, hey, companies obviously sometimes aren't our friends, and remembering that you need to be able to see the sides of the issue, right? Convenience is scary in some ways, because when something is convenient, you're going to do it. It's why DoorDash makes money, because it's really convenient to DoorDash food. I've done it many a times. Is it steep? Sure. But sometimes getting in your car and driving to a restaurant, to a fast food place and getting it, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You're tired. But at the end of the day, what ultimately saves you down the line is not door dashing. It's saving your money. It's saving your time. And at the end of the day, it's saving your integrity, which is a very weird allegory to make. But I'm going with someone with this, I swear. But you need to remember to save your files, to save your disk. And at the end of the day, you need to make a choice. Do you want the opportunity for someone to take away your goods and your things? Do you want the opportunity for people to be able to take away what makes you you? Because at the end of the day, a lot of what we've been talking about, movies, TV, games, music, they're very intrinsic to the human experience and ultimately why we are the way we are. I mean, we could have a whole podcast about talking about some of our biggest creative influences.
No.
But for people to take that away, that's essentially taking away parts of yourself if you think about it.
Oh, 100%.
And that leaves you with one choice. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
I don't think we are.
Yeah.
No.
So there you go.
That's one heck of a way to end a podcast. There you go.
So true.
But it is true. It is 100% true. So there you go. Well, this has been a very eventful time and a call to action, I guess, for all of you out there in
podcaster world,
in listener land, new form of listener land.
True.
Listen when you want land. There you go.
Yeah, because you have the choice.
You now have choice. You don't have to tune in.
We allow you
from
the
4
choice
to
listen to
Eastern
us
Standard.
ramble on about whatever we want.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't like it midway, skip to another episode. But we don't recommend that. We want you to listen to all these episodes because they're fantastic.
Yeah.
We're all very passionate about them.
Yes.
We suggest we recommend you do it, but hey, if you don't want to, that's totally fine. We're not going to get offended.
We're just going to make a choice to break your knees.
Someone here is going to get offended. Whoever is above me or whoever it is. Most likely Charlie.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
Aaron.
always the scapegoat.
He's always the scapegoat.
I'm the bridesmaid,
He's
never the bride.
Charlie.
All right. Well, I think this has been a very eventful episode. So hope you enjoyed and hope you check out more episodes of the Double After Hours podcast. I'm Aaron Gresser.
I'm Charlie Robinson.
I'm Shane Siegel.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Double After Hours podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Be sure to check out our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm Aaron Gresser, and thanks for staying after hours.